I'm staying down in patience. As a check me away while I'm waiting. Remember not to see me in my youth. Lead me in your truth and he'll give you some hope. The beam of my salvation. I'm staying down in patience. The secret of Yahweh who fears Elohim, who believes everything. And to every word spoken, you can't take heed unless you hear somebody curse you know you did the same thing. That's why I'm begging y'all for mercy and it's love and kindness, cause I know that I ain't worthy. All y'all hear is all y'all teach is all y'all hear is love him but not strange. Elohim gather across the seven seas. Captivity is taking hold upon me. For fighting me and now we flee from fallen leaves. The blood and grief from all the blood our people seen. And now we cry, where is the word from Elohim? And so we said that we always wise to be submissive, but we dismiss it. It is of this reason we have fallen victim to the lies of your root. We're a prey and pursue rebellious of the sun, forgetting that he is one. Broken the holy ordinance, rejecting the reproof. Then acknowledge what we do. Now we return back to the truth. God's word is the truth. God's decree is the proof. Local 12 just released the scoop. It's the summer of sand. They calling the sand. Made us worship the son of man. And somehow that the moon is Lord style and gave us the Rothschild. Now we exalt the vow, but it's a turnstile. God's now be set the crooked things straight. Praise God from the rising to the evening to the closing the gate. Exposing the faith. God gives the truth a day's break. Now the liars can't escape and the haters can't relate to the light the truth make. See the wicked pride deflate. You adore Yah, magnify Yah, cause it's great. All y'all hear is all y'all teach is all y'all hear is love him but not love him but not love him but not love him but not love him but not.
Shalom, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, giving all praise and honor to the Holy One of Israel, to the Creator of the heaven, the earth, the sea, and all that is therein, is by saying hallelujah. Praise the mighty Yah for another glorious, beautiful day that he has allowed us to come before you. Another week of bringing to you nothing but the truth. And it is true. All we're going to do is tell you the truth. For Yah ordained me to tell you the truth. My name is Moreh IshiYAH Yisrael of the house of Israel, bringing you nothing but the truth. But for some reason, what I'm telling you and what I'm bringing forth to you becomes suspicious to you, give me a call and we will discuss it. Area code 919-931-6216. Let me say shalom to my beautiful brothers and sisters that's viewing and listening to us by the way of the internet, YouTube, Facebook. And let me say shalom to our beautiful brothers and sisters that's listening by the way of Blog Talk. There is no doubt in my mind that the only reason why you're tuning in, it is because of your fear towards Elohim. We have Been absent the last couple of weeks because we were preparing for our conference in which we held last week, the 24th Restoration of the Sacred Laws Conference of the Most High. And it was beautiful. It was glorious. It was awesome. And we accomplished not only a lot, but we accomplished the things that we set forth to do. And for those who were not able to join us at our conference, you can view it on YouTube, on Facebook, and at our website, worldgatheringisrael.org, worldgatheringisrael.org. Tonight's program, we're going to begin discussing some of the various topics that we will be bringing forth to you starting next week. If you were not able to join us in our new month service, the beginning of the 5th month, and let me say to everyone that's listening to me, happy 5th month, because we are at the beginning of the 5th month, the first day of the 5th month. And we're going to teach you and show you how Yahweh ordered his months. But not only how he ordered his months, how he ordered his days, as well as how he ordered his years and weeks. And not only we're going to teach you how Yahweh ordered these things, but we're going to teach you and show you what they mean. It's very important to know what these things mean, because the Creator told us, and I just want you to see this real quick so you can understand what you will be hearing from us and learning from us starting next week. In the book of Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter, and I want you to see what this is saying. Now, many people give Solomon the credit for the book of wisdom, Proverbs, as well as Ecclesiastes. And it is true. Solomon did write these things. But who do you think Solomon got the wisdom from to write the things that he wrote? Some people just think these are the words of Solomon. The words that Solomon spoke and the words that were wrote down from his hands, make no mistake about it, this wisdom came from the Most High. The Almighty blessed him with it because he asked for it. But it don't belong to Solomon. This belonged to the Most High. And let me show you something that he wrote in Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter, in which we will be going into details about. Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter, starting at the very first verse, and this is what it says.
To everything there is a season.
To everything there is a season.
And a time to every purpose under the heaven.
And there's a time to every purpose under heaven. And surely we're under heaven. And surely everything there's a season. The word season means there's a time for everything. Everything has a time. And every time has a purpose.
A time to be born.
And once you begin to learn the various season of everything, then you begin to learn the time. And once you learn the time, then you can understand its purpose. And this is what we're going to begin teaching and showing our people. Because everything about the Most High is about order and law. I know you might think it should be law and order. But no, it's order and law. Because if you don't have the right order, then it's going to be impossible to do the law. For the word law comes from the Hebrew word Torah. The Hebrew word Torah means instructions or to instruct. And you can't instruct anyone, without starting at the beginning. This is where you must start. So you must first have the right order. Because if you're out of order, then you're going to have the wrong instructions. And if you have the wrong instructions, then how can you build? How can you put anything together? So you have to have order and law. And this is what the Creator teaches us, order and law. And we're going to begin teaching you order and law. But the first thing I want you to see is some of the things that you might want to consider putting in the proper order. Because once you put it in a proper order, then you will begin to learn the law. For example, go to the book. I had to show you this before I get right into my lesson. And it's in the book of Isaiah, the 42nd chapter. We turn there. In the book of Isaiah 42, and this is something that we went over at our conference. And this is what it says in the very first verse.
Isaiah 42, verse 1. Behold my servant, whom I uphold.
Yeah, his servant whom he uphold.
Mine elect, in whom my soul delighteth.
And this is someone that Yah said his soul delighteth in, and he called whoever this is his elect. Go ahead.
I have put my spirit upon him. He shall bring forth judgment unto the Gentiles.
He shall bring forth judgment to the nations, to the Gentiles. Go ahead.
He shall not cry, nor lift up, nor cause his voice to be heard in the street. A bruised reed shall he not break, and the smoking flax shall he not quench. He shall bring forth judgment unto truth.
In other words, his whole mission, his whole aim, his whole life work is all about bringing judgment unto the truth. And you have to know what judgment is. But he's going to bring judgment unto the truth. Go ahead.
He shall not fail, nor be discouraged.
He's not going to fail or be discouraged and not go around all the time, all over the country. And what I see is a lot of discouraged Israelites. And not only Israel is discouraged, but the black man and woman all over the country is discouraged. And not just in this country, blacks all over the world are discouraged. And in particularly Israel. And they have reason to be discouraged, but Yahweh's servant not only won't be discouraged by the things he see, by the things he hear, by the things that's going on, but he won't fail. And what is his mission? To bring judgment unto truth. Continue reading.
Till he have set judgment in the earth, and the isles shall wait for his law.
And see, this is the thing. We're talking about order and law. And this is what his servant will bring to the earth. He's going to bring the law. And you can't bring the law unless you have some order to it. Because most and the mass majority of our people are out of order. And when you're out of order, then it's only because you don't have understanding. And we're going to we're going to do what Yahweh said his servant will do. And let me show you what Yahweh said his servant will do. In the same chapter, in the book of Isaiah 42, this is what it says. In the 16th verse.
And I will bring the blind by a way that they knew not.
And many of our people are blind. Most of our people are blind. But Yahweh, through the instrument that he will use, which is his servant, will bring the blind by a way that they knew not.
I will lead them in paths that they have not known.
These are things they didn't even know. They hadn't even heard of. They hadn't been taught yet. They haven't even considered.
I will make darkness light before them and crooked things straight.
See, he's going to make all the dark things light. The things they just didn't know. It was hidden. It was dark. And he's also going to make the crooked things straight. And if you don't know, there's a lot of crooked things that has to be straightened out. These things will I do unto them and not forsake them, which let you know this is talking about Israel. Because Israel has to be straightened out. And until Israel is straightened out, the world will not be straightened out. Until Yah root out all the crooked things in Israel. Then the crooked things in the world will cease. So Israel is the one that has to be straightened out. Israel is the one that is crooked. And Israel is the one that the world is waiting on to be put back in order and law, so that the world can be put back in order and law. And this is what we're going to deal with. And I just want you to see some things that you may not have considered, so you can understand what we're going to do and how we're going to do it, so that you can understand the Creator, order, and laws. For instance, speaking about the Creator laws, most Israelites are under the impression that Yahweh has 613 laws. Where's that at? Where would you find that scripture? And our people just believe everything they hear. And when it comes to order, our people don't even know what the first law the Creator gave our people. But we're going to tell you what's the first law, and we're going to tell you essentially how many laws the Creator gave us. You'll be able to see. And how do we know? because the Creator is not the author of confusion. This is nothing that we have to figure out. Everything the Creator wanted us to know, He put in His Word. This is why the Creator said this to His people, in which, and this is something our people don't want to do, but look what the Most High said in the book of Isaiah, the 34th chapter, the 16th verse. Since we in the book of Isaiah. Since His servant will not fail, nor be discouraged. In the book of Isaiah 34, verse 16, it reads,
Seek ye out of the book of Yahweh and read.
Yeah, it's telling you to seek ye out of the book of Yahweh and read. You don't know the hidden treasures that the Almighty have stored in His book, waiting to come out of darkness, waiting to be straightened out, waiting to be brought forth to the light. So Yahweh said, seek ye out of the book of Yah and read.
No one of these shall fail.
Not one of these books, not one of these words shall fail.
None shall want her mate.
None shall have a match. So you can't go to these other books to try to explain the word of Yah. You can't run to the Quran or the Apocrypha or the book of Enoch or the Jubilees or any other book to try to straighten out Yah's book. You can't go to the various books that the Jewish people have that try to commentary everything in the word of Yah. Yah has His own commentary. And who is the commentary? It's Yahweh Himself. Yahweh don't need nobody to explain His word. Yahweh can explain His word Himself. So why would you allow other people to deceive you? Continue reading.
For my mouth it has commanded them.
And this is the book, and these are the words that Yahweh commanded.
In His spirit it hath gathered them.
And these are the words in the books that was gathered by the Spirit of Yahweh. So people can talk all day long and tell you all day long, well, it's some missing books. It's some lost books. They kept this out and they kept that out. But in truth, this is what Yahweh put together. Now, are you saying Yahweh is wrong? Yahweh made a mistake? No, Yahweh didn't make any mistakes at all. And this is something that we got to come to the truth on. And I just want you to see certain things that we're going to be bringing forth to you. As I stated before, the two main things that you're going to see is order and law. For example, let me just show you this. In the book of Deuteronomy, the 10th chapter, and this is just an example that we want you to see. In the book of Deuteronomy, the 10th chapter, the 12th verse, it reads as follows.
And now, Yisrael, What does Yahweh thy Elohim require of thee?
And a lot of people don't know Yahweh himself have requirements. He don't just have laws. He don't just have commandments. He don't just have statutes and judgments, but he also have requirements. And this is 7 different requirements that Yahweh are requiring you to do. And the first thing, because this is all about order and law. And what's the first requirement?
But to fear Yah.
Yeah, that's the first thing Yahweh wants you to do, is to fear him. Now, if you don't know how to fear Yahweh, and most people don't, then everything else you can throw in the trash, because you missed the very first thing.
But
You got to learn how to fear Yah. Go ahead. Second thing.
to walk in all of his ways.
And then once you fear him, now you got to walk in his ways. And most people don't know the ways of Yah. In other words, you got to study just his ways. Just like you got to study what it means to fear him. There's an order to this. What's the third thing?
And to love him.
And you got to love Yah. But how do you do that? What is the first step in loving Yah? Go ahead.
And to serve Yahweh.
You got to serve Yahweh. How?
Thy Elohim with all thy heart and with all thy soul.
Yeah, which is 4 and 5. You got to love Yahweh with all your heart. Not just with all your heart, but all your soul. For some strange reason, our people think they don't believe they have a soul that's separate from their heart. And Yahweh wants you to love him with all your heart and serve him with all your heart and all your soul. And oftentimes, our people will do things in their heart that they won't do with their soul. And then they will do things with their soul that they're not doing in their heart. And I'm going to show you that so you can understand what I'm telling you is the truth. And then what do it say?
To keep the commandments of Yahweh and his statutes, which I command thee this day for thy good.
And not only he wants you to do all that, but he wants you to keep his commandments and he wants you to keep his statutes for thy good. And all these things are for your good. But they have to be ordered so that you might know the law. And we're going to teach you these things. We're going to bring you these things so you'll know what they mean. So you'll know how to really serve the Most High. And let me tell you, brothers and sisters, we're in the last days. So we don't have a lot of time to shuck and jive around. We don't have a lot of time for partying. We don't have a lot of time for chilling. We got to get down to business. And the business we have to get down to is the business of the Most High. But these are some of the things that we're going to bring to you. Other things that we're going to bring to you, such as in the book of Genesis, the 1st chapter, turn there. As I stated before, we must learn order. Because once we learn order, then we can learn law. And when the Almighty created the heaven and the earth in the beginning, he gave us order and he gave us law. But most people skip right over this. And the very first thing the Almighty did was in the 3rd verse. And watch what he says. Well, start at the 2nd verse because I don't want us to miss how this was done.
And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of Elohim moved upon the face of the waters.
Yeah, because everything Yahweh do, he does it with his Spirit. Most people think Yahweh had to be standing right there to do something. No. All Yahweh had to do is send out his Spirit, and whatever he says and whatever he does is going to happen. And the very first thing is in the 3rd verse.
And Elohim said, let there be light. And there was light.
See, the very first thing he said, let there be light, and there was light. But little do people know what Yah was doing when he ushered in this light. This light was just not some light. But Yahweh was ushering in more than just some light. It was life. It was his law. It was his wisdom. And much, much more. And we're going to bring that to you so you can understand what is the first thing in order we got to be about. We got to be about light. And unfortunately, our people are not about light. This is not the first thing our people is about. Most of our people spend their time trying to tell people the first thing you're supposed to be about is darkness. Darkness was the first thing there, and that's what you got to be about is darkness. Well, you can be about darkness. But let me show you why we are about light. And the first thing that Yahweh ushered in was light. Hold your page here, and I just want you to go to something so you can understand and know how Yah orders things and how these ordinances of the Most High is our law as well as the length of our days. And hold your page there, and I want you to turn to the book of Isaiah, but hold your page at Genesis, the 1st chapter. Because I want you to see the many things that we had to bring to you. In the book of Isaiah, the 8th chapter. And once you get there, I want you to zero in on the 20th verse. And what do it say?
To the law.
To the law.
And to the testimony.
And to the testimony.
If they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them.
Because when Yahweh ushered in light, he ushered in the law. So a lot of people is telling you about this darkness. So how can then they tell you about the law? Because he said, if they speak not according to this word, if they don't speak according to this law, it's only because there is no light in them. And brothers and sisters, our people today are void of light. And I know you don't believe me, but I'm going to show you what I'm telling you is the truth. Furthermore, go to the book of Proverbs, the 6th chapter. What are we discussing? What are we talking about? We are talking about putting things back in order. And what must be back in order? The law. That's why we'll be dealing with order and law. Because, brothers and sisters, the truth have to be restored. This is our mission. How else can we bring Jacob back to the Most High? We can't go back to the Most High in the state that we're in. We got to go back to the Most High with some sense. And how can we have sense and not have order? Watch what the scriptures say in the book of Proverbs, the 6th chapter. And I want you to start reading the 23rd verse and watch what this says. And remember what we're discussing. The Almighty said, let there be light, and there was light. To the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them. So I don't care what was before the light. The only thing that matters to me is when that light came, it brought the law. In the book of Proverbs 6:23.
For the commandment is a lamp.
See, the commandment is a lamp.
And the law is light.
And the law is the light. The law is not darkness. The commandment is not some light that's cut off. No, the commandment is a lamp. The law is light.
And reproofs of instruction is the way of life.
This is the way of life. So now you can see, I hope you can see, when Yah ordered in the first day, which he called the light day, Yahweh was ushering in his law. He was ushering in his commandments. He was ushering in life itself and the reproofs of instructions, which is the way of life. What do you think the law is? And if you still don't believe me, let me show you what darkness ushered in. Let's see if it ushered in the law. Let's see if it ushered in life. Let's see if darkness ushered in something that one should be excited about. Well, let's see. One scripture you want to read, and I still want you to hold Genesis, the 1st chapter. Go to the book of Isaiah. And you're going to find this around Isaiah, the 60th chapter. And watch what it says. And we're going to start at the very first verse.
Arise, shine, for thy light is come.
Thy light has come. And who is he speaking to? Well, he's speaking to his remnant. He's speaking to his servant. He's speaking to the remnant of his people who have come out of darkness. And watch what it says.
And the glory of Yahweh is risen upon thee.
Now the glory of Yah, which is light, has risen upon thee.
For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth.
Darkness shall cover the earth.
and gross darkness the people.
And that's where we at today. Our people right now are in gross darkness. And what is gross darkness? Gross darkness is a type of darkness that's absolute. In other words, it's gross. And you know something that's gross is not something good. And the earth itself is in darkness. And the only way to survive, because you can't survive in gross darkness, the only way to survive is what the Creator says next. It says again, but Yahweh shall what?
But Yah shall arise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee.
Yeah, you got to have some light. And this light has to rise upon you, because this light is not just light. This light possesses things that would allow you to live, that would allow you to come near unto Yah, that would allow you to know your Maker. And this is the first thing that Yahweh gave us. Now, don't you see why we have to put things in order? And what are we putting in order? His law. That's why we must have order and law. These are the things that's going to save us, deliver us, and bring us back to the Most High. Let there be light, and there was light. But not only the Almighty gave us light, just one more thing concerning this light that Yahweh gave us, that we might know him. The very first thing he gave to the earth. But look what he said concerning our people in the book of Hosea, the 6th chapter. So you can see what I'm telling you is the truth. In the book of Hosea, the 6th chapter, let me grab it. And make that Hosea the 4th chapter. Hosea the 4th chapter. And I want you to start reading at the 6th verse. And don't forget what we're discussing to you, with you. Don't forget what we're bringing out to you. What we're telling you and what we're talking to you about is the various things that we're going to be bringing out every single day. In other words, you're going to see us from the house of Israel teaching you these various truths, because now it's time to stop shucking and jiving. Stop playing around. Souls have to be saved. And we have to be dedicated to the Most High to save these souls. And we are. And according to the book of Hosea, the 4th chapter, the 6th verse, it says,
my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge.
See, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. And you know, when you lack knowledge, it's only because you're in darkness. It means you don't know, or you reject it to know. And you're going to see our people reject it to know. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Go ahead.
Because thou hast rejected knowledge.
And because you rejected this knowledge,
I will also reject thee.
So it don't matter whether you believe I'm telling you the truth or not. The Almighty know. And he know if you reject knowledge, and you know if you reject knowledge, Yahweh will reject you. So it ain't me rejecting you. It's not me accepting you. It's Yahweh. Continue reading.
I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me.
And we all are priests. We are kingdom of priests. And what is a priest? A priest is a messenger. A priest is someone who brings the message of the Most High. And where do you take it? Well, you're supposed to take it to the people. You're supposed to take it to the world. You're supposed to take it to those who sit in darkness. And I want you to see this is exactly what Yahweh's servant would do. Go ahead.
Seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy Elohim.
Did not tell you this is about order and law.
I will also forget thy children.
And as they were increased,
so they sinned against me.
Therefore
will I change their glory into shame.
And my goodness, can we just acknowledge, can we just stand up and just say we are ashamed? Please acknowledge the truth and say we are ashamed. We're ashamed how far we've fallen. We're ashamed of the things we've done. We're ashamed the life that we're living. We are ashamed that we're out of order. And we are ashamed that we have forgotten the law of Elohim. We must acknowledge this. We must finally humble ourselves to the Most High. Look what Yahweh said his servant will do with this great light that he said not only will rise upon his servant, but this great light that he said to the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them. In the book of Isaiah, where we started, the 42nd chapter. And we read the first 4 verses. But now let me read the meat of it. Starting at the 5th verse.
Thus saith the Elohim Yahweh, he that created the heavens and stretched them out, he that spread forth the earth, and that which cometh out of it, he that giveth breath unto the people upon it, and spirit unto them that walk therein. I, Yahweh, have called thee in righteousness.
He's called thee in righteousness.
And will hold thine hand.
He's going to hold your hand.
And will keep thee and give thee for a covenant of the people, for a light of the Gentiles.
How many times Yahweh said he's going to give you light, not darkness? And our people trying to fight and debate about which one come first. It don't even matter, because the only thing that you should concern yourself about is the light. And watch what the Creator said. You're going to be a light to the Gentiles, and watch this.
To open the blind eyes.
And what are you going to be a light to do? To open the blind eyes.
To bring out the prisoners from the prison.
To open up the doors of the prison houses.
And to them that sit in darkness out of the prison house.
Look, you bringing people out of darkness. You're not. How can you concern yourself with all these dark things And Yahweh wants people out of darkness. He wants the earth out of darkness. He wants his people out of darkness. And the only way you can do that is with light. Now, do you see why we have to order things from the beginning? Now do you see why we have to put things in order? Now do you see why the crooked things have to be made straight? Now do you see why darkness have to be made light? Those are not my words. Those are the words of Yah. And I know you don't believe me, so I'm going to let Yahweh say it again to you. In the 14th verse, read that again.
I have long time holden my peace. I have been still and refrained myself. Now will I cry like a traveling woman.
14th verse of the same chapter.
Isaiah 42?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay, yes, you're right. Continue reading.
I will destroy and devour at once. I will make waste mountains and hills, and dry up all their herbs. And I will make the rivers islands, and I will dry up the pools.
And watch what Yahweh say now.
And I will bring the blind by a way that they knew not.
The blind by a way that they knew not.
I will lead them in paths that they have not known.
Paths they have not known.
I will make darkness light before them.
I will make the darkness light before them. What do you think Yahweh did in the book of Genesis, the 1st chapter? He made darkness light. And then what did he say?
And crooked things straight.
And crooked things straight. And there's a lot of crooked things that just have to be straightened out. And these things will I do unto them and not forsake them. And who do you think he's going to use to make the crooked things straight? Well, I tell you, whether you believe it or not, his servant. His servant. This is what he will do. Another example of what we're going to bring to you and show you, go back to the book of Genesis so you can see what I'm telling you is the truth. Genesis, the 1st chapter. Because this is what Yahweh did in the first day. All he did was made light and created light. But little do people know the light that Yahweh made, what he actually ushered in. And of course, I don't have enough time to bring you all these things in one day. And I'm not even going to try. That's why we're going to have to go every day. And we still ain't going to be able to bring you everything, but we will be able to bring you more. And right now we need more. How else can we be brought out of darkness? And watch what the 6th verse says.
And Elohim said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And Elohim made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so. And Elohim called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the 2nd day.
And what did Yahweh do on this 2nd day? Well, Yahweh made the heavens. And he took this firmament and put it in the midst of the waters, and he divided the waters from the waters. And there was waters above this firmament, and there was waters underneath this firmament, and there was waters all over this, around this firmament. And Yahweh said he called the firmament heaven. This is what he called this firmament, heaven. And why did Yahweh think to do this on the second day? We know on the first day he brought the light. And we can see how beautiful and how abundant and how great this light was. But what about the heaven? What was so great about this heaven that Yahweh made? And what did Yahweh usher in when he made the heaven? And this is something we're going to have to learn about. Because to everything, there's a season. To everything. In a time, because that's what a season is, a time. And to every time, there's purpose. And there's purpose behind the time that Yah did what he did. And not only there's purpose, but there's a season behind what he did. And there's many things that you got to know about this heaven that oftentimes people seem to not really understand. Well, I'm going to show you one of the things that the Creator said about this heaven that I want you to know today. And these are just some of the examples that we will be bringing to you next week in full. Well, let me show you something in the book of Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy, the 31st chapter. Turn there. In the book of Deuteronomy 31, I just want you to see this. And I apologize, I don't know where these bugs coming from. Of course, Deuteronomy the 31st chapter and let me just make sure it's the 31st chapter. Actually, it's Deuteronomy the 30th chapter. And I just want you to see this. And I want you to start reading the 15th verse. Deuteronomy 30 and 15.
See, I have set before thee this day life and good, and death and evil, and that I command thee this day to love Yahweh thy Elohim, to walk in all his ways, and to keep his commandments, and his statutes, and his judgments, that thou mayest live and multiply. Yahweh thy Elohim shall bless thee in the land whither thou goest to possess it. But if thine heart turn away, so that thou wilt not hear, but shall be drawn away, and worship other deities and serve them. I denounce unto you this day that ye shall surely perish, and that ye shall not prolong your days upon the land whither thou passest over Jordan to possess it. I call heaven and earth to record this day against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore choose life, that both thou and thy seed may live.
In other words, the Almighty said he called heaven as well as earth against you. And what did he call the heaven and the earth to do? Well, he called the heaven and the earth to record against you that indeed, in truth, that he set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. And then after he set them before you, he said, therefore choose life, that both thou and thy seed may live. So heaven is not just the throne of Yah and earth his footstool, but heaven right down today is looking down, watching everything you do as a record that he said life and death. And so when it's time for you to be judged, there's a record. There's a record. When you go to the courts of law, the first thing they do before they even call you up, they look at your record. They look at your deeds. They say, man, this guy, he been doing this and he been doing that, and he been in trouble here and he been in trouble there. So you can come up and say whatever you want to do, say, but they got evidence. They got what they call records. And so do Yah. So you can let these religions teach you, you don't have to worry about the law. You don't have to do the law. The law made nothing perfect. You can listen to these Israelites that tell you you can't do the law in this land all you want to. But make no mistake about it. Yahweh and his word have already told you that there's a record. And he called the heaven and the earth to record against you. So you can't go, so-and-so told me that we didn't have to do the law. And Yahweh going to look at you and say, well, what did I teach you? Well, so-and-so told me the law was done away with. But what did I teach you? See, it always going to go back to what did thus said Yah. And watch this. So you can understand what the heaven is all about. In the book of Exodus, turn there. And to all our brothers and sisters that's listening by the way of Blog Talk, or if you want to call in, phone number is 347-838-8963. Give us a call and press the number 1 on your phone. And we're going right to you. But let me show you this other scriptures. Because what are we talking about? What are we dealing with? What are we bringing to you? What is it that we just really, you just got to know? You got to know order and law. You have to know these things. Because once you begin to put things in a proper order, then you can understand the law. And see, the order is the time. It is the season. And the law is the purpose. Let me show you this in the book of Exodus. In the book of Exodus, in the book of Exodus, 32nd chapter, Exodus 32. And watch what it says. And we're going to start in the 30th verse so you can understand what's going on.
And it came to pass on the morrow that Moses said unto the people.
And remember, what are we discussing? We're talking about day 2. We're talking about the heavens. We're talking about the purpose of the heavens. And then you're going to understand what 2 is all about. Go ahead.
That Moses said unto the people, ye have sinned a great sin.
And this is after our people made a golden calf. And Moses went to the Most High, and he told the people, you have sinned a great sin.
And now I will go up unto Yahweh. Peradventure, I shall make an atonement for your sin.
I'm going to make an atonement for your sin, because what you did was a great sin.
And Moses returned unto Yah, and said, oh, this people have sinned a great sin, and have made them deities of gold. Yet now, if thou wilt forgive their sin, and if not, blot me, I pray thee, out of thy book which thou hast written.
See, Moses went to the Most High and said, look here, our people, your people, have sinned a great sin. And please forgive their sin, but if not, take me, Yah, blot me out of the book that is written. And did not tell you there's a record. And who's recording? Yahweh said this record, he called this record to be called in heaven and earth. And they called it a book that is written that have certain names in it and their records. But watch what Moses say. Yet now,
if thou wilt forgive their sin, and if not, blot me, I pray thee, out of thy book which thou hast written.
And watch what Yahweh say.
And Yahweh said unto Moshe, whosoever hath sinned against me, him will I blot out of my book.
See, whoever sinned against Yahweh, him will he blot out of his book. Didn't he say heaven and earth was recording? What do you think they're recording? What do you think these records are for? You think when Yahweh just made the heaven, it was just the heavens? No. When he made the heaven, he was making kingdoms. Kingdoms were being made. People had jobs and functions. He had those that he would even call angels, cherubims, seraphims. He had those that will be called spirits that all live in heaven. In heaven. And he has scribes in heaven. And all their job is to do is to watch you and I and record. And they record in everything we do. So you're not getting away with nothing. Yah sees everything. Yah knows everything. And there's a record for everything. Now, if Yahweh was with you every day, walking around with you, would you do the things that you're doing? In other words, would you be killing your people? Would you be robbing banks? Would you be making whores out of daughters of Zion? Would you be lying, cheating, stealing, robbing, swearing to these false idols? Would you be doing those things if Yahweh was right there with you? Well, Yahweh is right there with you because Yahweh sees everything. For everything is being recorded. And I mean everything. And I know you don't believe me. Watch this in the book of Daniel. Daniel, the 12th chapter. I just want you to see what I'm telling you is the truth. In the book of Daniel, the 12th chapter, I just want you to see what will happen in the last days. For those who don't know. The very first verse, what do it say?
And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince which standeth for the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was, since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered.
And they're going to be delivered.
Every one that shall be found written in the book.
I mean, how many times it's got to tell you all those that are found written in the book? This book is not some book that you can go to the library and destroy. This is not a book that you can find and bury it just in case you're not in it. This is not a book where you can tear the pages out of. No, this book is in a safe place, safekeeping. It's in a place that was designed and made to record against you. So you can't hide. You can't run. So your best bet is to listen to the law and do it. The Almighty says, Shema Yisrael, Yah Eloheinu, Yah Echad. Hear, O Israel, Yah Eloheinu, Yahweh is one. He wants you to hear. He wants you to listen. And this is what we're bringing to you so you can understand how to finally serve Yahweh in truth and in righteousness. And no, it's just not to record against you. But if you want Yahweh to hear you, you got to hear him. Again, give us a call, 347-838-8963. And press the number 1 on your phone. And let me show you this. Because I know you want Yahweh to hear you. But are you hearing him? In the book of 1 Kings, let us turn there. First Kings, the 8th chapter. And I just want you to see something that King Solomon blessed our people with, especially us in this time. And I want you to start reading at the 31st, start at the 28th verse.
Yet have thou respect unto the prayer of thy servant, and to his supplication, O Yah my Elohim, to hearken unto the cry and to the prayer which thy servant prays before thee today, that thine eyes may be open towards this house, night and day, even toward the place of which thou hast said, my name shall be there, that thou mayest hearken unto the prayer which thy servant shall make towards this place. And hearken thou unto the supplication of thy servant and of thy people Israel, when they shall pray toward this place, and hear thou in heaven thy dwelling place, and when thou hearest, forgive.
See, he said, hearken to the supplication of thy servant and of thy people Israel, when they shall pray toward this place. And what is this place? Well, this place is where he chose to place his name, the temple. And then he said, hear thou in heaven thy dwelling place. When thou hearest, forgive. Continue reading.
And hearken to the supplication of thy servant and of thy people Israel, when they shall pray towards this place, and hear thou in heaven thy dwelling place. And when thou hearest, forgive. If any man trespass against his neighbor, and an oath be laid upon him to cause him to swear, and the oath come before thine altar in this house, then hear thou in heaven.
Hear thou in heaven and do.
And judge thy servants, condemning the wicked, to bring his way upon his head, and justifying the righteous, to give him according to his righteousness.
Then now you can understand what this heaven is all about. 33rd verse.
When thy people Israel be smitten down before the enemy, because they have sinned against thee, and shall turn again to thee, and confess thy name and pray, and make supplication unto thee in this house, then hear thou in heaven, and forgive the sin of thy people Israel, and bring them again unto the land which thou gavest unto their fathers.
See, hear thou in heaven. 35th verse.
When heaven is shut up.
And when heaven is shut up, and ain't nothing coming from heaven.
And there is no rain.
And there is no rain.
Because they have sinned against thee, if they pray towards this place, and confess thy name, and turn from their sin when thou afflictest them.
Yeah, because Yahweh's name, when Yahweh made the heavens, he ushered in his name. So even if heaven is shut up, still call upon his name, because that came with it. And if you call out his name, he still can hear. And if you turn from your sin and you confess his name, his name, when thou hast afflicted them, 36th verse,
then hear thou in heaven, and forgive the sin of thy servants, and of thy people Israel, that thou teach them the good way wherein they should walk, and give rain upon thy land, which thou hast given to thy people for an inheritance.
Yeah, all about hearing from heaven, all about his name. 38th verse.
If there be in the land famine, if there be pestilence, blasting, mildew, locust, or if there be caterpillar, if their enemy besiege them in the land of their cities, whatsoever plague, whatsoever sickness there be, what prayer and supplication soever be made by any man, or by all thy people Israel, which shall know every man the plague of his own heart, and spread forth his hands toward this house, then hear thou in heaven, thy dwelling place, and forgive and do, and give to every man according to his ways, whose heart thou knowest.
Whose heart thou knowest. And you see, once again, Yahweh, again, letting you know how instrumental the heavens is. And we're going to fast forward all the way to what we need to know in this day and time, so you can understand how important it is for us to follow these same instructions and to understand what Solomon is praying to the Most High for. Because surely we're scattered all over. And if anybody need their prayers heard, it is us. 44th verse.
If thy people go out to battle against their enemy.
Oh, let's go to the 47th verse. Oh, 46th verse. Start there.
If they sin against thee, for there is no man that sinneth not, and thou be angry with them, and deliver them to the enemy, so that they carry them away captives unto the land of the enemy, far or near.
And we're far, and some of our people are near.
Yet if they shall bethink themselves in the land whither they were carried captives, and repent, and make supplication unto thee in the land of them that carried them captives, saying, we have sinned.
We have sinned.
And have done perversely.
We've done perversely.
We have committed wickedness.
We've committed wickedness.
And so return unto thee with all their heart and with all their soul in the land of their enemies.
In other words, contrary to popular belief, contrary to what many of the teachers are saying, that we can't keep the law in this land. We're sinning if we keep the law in this land. And we don't have to worry about the law in this land. And the laws of Yahweh is done away with, contrary to all those false teachings that our people are teaching about keeping the law of Yah in this land. Read that again.
And so return unto thee with all their heart, and with all their soul in the land of their enemies, which led them away captive, and pray unto thee toward their land, which thou gavest unto their fathers, the city which thou hast chosen, and the house which I have built for thy name.
Built for thy name.
Then hear thou their prayer and their supplication in heaven, thy dwelling place, and maintain their cause, and forgive thy people that have sinned against thee, in all their transgressions, wherein they have transgressed against thee, and give them compassion before them who carried them captive, that they may have compassion on them.
That they may have compassion on them. And the only way we're going to get this is through order and law. Order and law. We got to put things back in order. The crooked things have to be made straight. We must come out of the darkness into the light. These are the things that we must do. When Yahweh ushered in the light, he just did not usher in light. He ushered in his law. He ushered in life. He ushered in wisdom. He ushered in many things that will help us and aid us in serving him. When Yahweh made the heavens, he didn't just make some firmament in the sky. No, these were kingdoms that had various jobs and positions that's recording and watching and looking at us today to see if we're going to keep his law or not. And he called heaven as well as earth to record against us. And he said if we pray unto that place where he recorded his name, and we humble ourselves, that he will hear from heaven And why? Because that is his dwelling place. Just show you a couple more things on heaven real quick. One is in the book of Exodus, the 16th chapter. So you can see how important this is. So you can understand when Yahweh did what he did in the book of Genesis, the first chapter, he was just not making some heavens, making some light. These things have great meaning, great purpose. And they were done at the time and season with the purpose of what I'm telling you today. Look what Yahweh did in the book of Exodus 16. Show you how much Yahweh loved his people and what he would do for his people. And you'll read this in the book of Exodus 16, the 3rd and 4th verse. And watch what it says.
And the children of Israel said unto them, which Elohim we had died by the hand of Yah in the land of Egypt.
In other words, I wish Elohim we just had died by the hand of Yah in the land of Egypt. That's a darnest thing to wish. But this is what they wished.
When we had sat by the flesh pots, and when we did eat the bread of to the full.
In other words, he should have just let us die when we was eating all day long, eating to the full. I'd rather die that way than to die starving. Go ahead.
For ye have brought us forth into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger.
And I don't want to die that way. Let me die with a full stomach, at least with a full stomach. And then, Yahweh heard this.
Then said Yahweh unto Moses, behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you.
He said, I will rain bread from heaven. I thought heaven was just this firmament in the sky. No, the heaven got food. It got all kind of things up there. All kind of great blessings for us.
And the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day, that I may prove them whether they will walk in my law or no.
And Yahweh said, I'm going to test them whether they will keep my law or no. And he tested our people, as he often do. But what are we talking about? What are we bringing to you? What are we sharing with you? We just sharing with you many of the truths that we're going to be bringing to you next week. As I stated before, we're going to be teaching every day, at least an hour and a half a day, starting at 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m., starting on the second day on forward. And we might have 1 day break. And if it's a break, it'll probably be on the first day of the week. But we might go all 7 days. So keep listening and watching out. But 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. And why? Because it's really time to make the crooked things straight. Why? It's time for us to come out of darkness to the light. Why? Because Yahweh, we're in the last days. And Yahweh wants his people to return unto him so that he can return unto us. We are entering into a great time. And a great time don't mean to Yahweh a time where our people are going to rejoice. This great time that our people are entering into is a time of great trouble. That's what Yahweh called great. He said our people during the time of Jacob's trouble shall be like a woman in travail. Great pain. It's a time where Yahweh said has never been seen before. But he shall be saved out of it. And Yahweh said, but that day is great. So what you think is great, Yahweh see it different. And you won't find our people calling a great day a day of trouble. So these things we're going to be teaching you, bringing out, and there's so many things that we just have to put in order so that we able to do his law. And again, once again, I want to thank our beautiful brothers and sisters who tune in every week. For Yahweh love you, so do I. Shalom. My brother. What's going on?
Good, man. Great job.
How you doing, bro?